Hello, welcome to All For United with me, John Foster, MUFC. Natalie, how you doing, mate?
I'm doing good. Happy for this one, excited. I think a few bombshells have dropped and we're just ready to talk about them all.
Look, we wasn't planning on doing this kind of show. We thought we'd get Simon involved today because there's a few things going around that Simon could help us with. Since then, Emma Sanders has helped us and she started to give some transfer information. On top of that, obviously, Tooney, Rambo, loads of things to go through. Hello, Karen, in the comments. Thank you for joining us. So, yeah, just a bit of a rundown. And so, obviously, we want to start the show talking a bit about Tooney being tested positive for COVID. Rambo getting her senior call up. Hopefully, she gets her cap. Emma Sanders' article, absolutely amazing, going through every club, every team. But obviously, today, we're just going to focus on the Man United parts. Simon Preston from Jamaica is going to be joining us shortly. He's going to be talking about Bunny Shaw. He's going to be talking about LJ. He's going to be talking about Oshoala. Loads of things to talk about. But before Simon does start, I think it makes sense for us to talk about Tooney and Rambo. So obviously, we haven't heard if Tooney is actually ill as such or if she's got any symptoms, but she has not been able to join the Lionesses. It's always a bit of a shock. Obviously, anyone can get coronavirus. Obviously, thankfully, the death rates are coming down in England and the cases are coming down. But it still goes to show that it is still out there. Players, no one's immune to this. And, it's one of our own has now got snapped.
Yeah, it just shows, it's a horrible thing, COVID. It's easily to catch. I think everyone thought, I'm not saying Tooney thought this, but I thought it. It's over. It's coming towards the end. The restrictions are being lifted, and then I think this has just shocked everyone. Bang! Towards the end, we were seeing how there was no COVID cases for the Premier League and the Super League, and then I think obviously they've all gone on holiday. They've all gone doing what they're doing. I'm not saying they're not being careful, but then, that's it. When you're not in your bubble, I suppose you're more susceptible to it. Obviously, they've done the right thing. She had to pull out. I can't see it affecting her Olympics because it's how long is it? You have to isolate 10 days. I just hope that, you have this long COVID and, it can affect you, and Zellam's talked about it. And I just hope that, she's able to run the same. And, I'm a bit worried as well with... sorry to hear Anthony. Anthony's currently isolating. But I'm a bit worried because I think she will be okay for the Olympics, but people might expect her to be up to the standards straight away. You get what I mean? And I think what Zellam said, it takes you a while to get back to your fitness. Take you 2-3 weeks. It take you a month to get back to your fitness, and then you're talking getting back to your match fitness. It's even longer. So I am really worried for her. I think she'll be all right, though. She's a reserve player. I just hope they look after her properly. That's the only thing.
And that's the thing. It is okay, even if she hasn't got any symptoms, like you say, this could have a knock-on effect now because she's not going to be able to play. She's got to isolate. So, yeah, she can keep her fitness up, but it's not match fitness. It's not like playing a match or doing the training with the rest of the team. And now, potentially, is she now going to miss that opportunity because somebody else might come in ahead of her who's going to fit in? And it's just really unfortunate that it's come at this time. And she's got these England call-ups before. She's doing really well. She's done amazing for United this year. Been called up for England. And now she's got this. So fingers crossed she hits the ground running as soon as she can. And she can come back. Just catching up with a few of these comments. We're going to be discussing Bunny Shaw. So we've got a Jamaican reporter who's been on the show before. Last time he was on the show was actually on our transfer deadline day show back in January, and it was a great conversation with him, to be honest. So we're going to talk a bit about Bunny. Thank you, blessings. Loads of people in the comments. Thank you very much. Thank you. Loads of names there that we recognise. This is great, Stuart. We're going to be talking about this as well. But Rambo. So the thing that gets me with this one, I'm happy with Rambo. Obviously, Mary Earps is currently having some sort of minor operation. I'm not too sure what it is. As long as she's okay, we don't need to know. But it's just there's 4 other goalkeepers that's also in that squad, and I just think that it's great that she's called up. She gets that experience, but I just can't see her getting any game time. Can you there now?
it's going to be one of them, because obviously they're going to want the two that are going to play. But this, I think it looks like that Karen Bardsley is out. And she was going to the Olympics, but it looks like, potentially she might be out. And then what will happen is Sandy McIver will probably get called up. So Sandy will get called up, and then that leaves a spot. And then obviously, I think potentially it's between Rambo and Hannah Hampton. So, John, we're talking about Rambo being called up, Emily Ramsey, our goalkeeper, getting called up for England. And I think if she impresses, and she might not play game time, but I think if she impresses Ramsey during the training camp more than, say, Hampton, she could look at herself going to the Olympics. Yes, it'll be the call-up squad, but that's where we're at, really, isn't it? There's no one else. She's obviously been called up because they're thinking, we need a third goalkeeper, and it's between those two, I think. I mean, I'm sure other people will say, oh, this one deserves it more, this one deserves it more, but this is where we're at. Rambo's been in and around the 21s for a long time, so for me, it was natural that it was going to be her that was called up. I know people say, well, what about this goalkeeper that's playing more? What about this goalkeeper that's playing more? But they're not in the 21 squad, and every time there's been a camp or whatever, Rambo's there from 19s, 21s. I'm sure she was in the 18s. I think she was in the under-20 World Cup. So it's only going to be her. And to be fair, they've stuck to the guns in the way that they selected it. I am one who's sort of like the best players should be called up rather than, just doing this and that. But I think it probably would have been Mary, and that's potentially why they've put out, she's having an operation, so she can't go to the Olympics or go to England or anything. But it was strange as well. I think, I don't know what you thought, John, and what everyone thinks in the comments, but I thought it was strange that they never share any injuries, and I've sort of understood now. But even if Rambo was called up over Mary, people wouldn't have. We might have asked a question, but we would have sort of blamed England. So it's sort of strange that United put it out about Mary. I don't know. It's sort of like it felt like a Casey move. Casey would do that kind of thing, like just let you know that this is why.
Well, maybe that's it, because the club put it on their Twitter. Mary didn't put it on her Twitter. This is all on the clubs, and it is a bit of an unusual one. But like I say, she's smiling on this photo anyway, so hopefully everything's okay there. And fully fit for next season. Speaking about next season, look, the transfers are popping off now. It's just what we want to hear. Before we start going into these players, it's great to see Emma Sanders doing it, and she's not the only one. We always praise Emma up. She helps us on the show. We do our best to help her as well. But it's not just Emma. But I do feel that in the last year, even in the last 6 months, people are talking more about transfers. I'm not talking about fans. I'm talking about people who are more involved in football, more not just as fans, people who actually work in football. And it's what we've been fighting for, and that's since back in December, January, if not longer. Things are spicing up now, aren't they? Loads of rumours going about, loads of deals already being done or being spoken about. How do you think that this transfer market's going at the moment?
I just want to say something that I've called for a long time. And I remember when we first started, apparently it was easy back then to call it. I know Rich Lafferty said, but I remember even our first year, we were like, oh, who we signing? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? And we're like, we want to know, where's the rumours? Where's the transfer deadline day? Where's the yellow ties? Let's go. And I think now we're seeing it. Obviously, Emma's found out through which way and what way. I found out sort of similar things to Emma about, not about the United ones, but just heard about the same ones. And I suppose that's how she does it. You just speak to people and find out. And like I've always said, I think now we are getting a bit more towards a clickbait, and I'm not saying her article is clickbait at all. I don't think it is. But it's good just to see that she mentioned every single team. And this team is looking for this kind of player, but we know that this player is available. United are definitely looking for attackers, definitely, 100%. I think we know who's leaving, and let's not go over it, but 100% looking at attackers. And she didn't even, listen, Emma can be our manager, it's fine. She's our leader.
We're going to try and get everyone on the show out as well later this week. So
yeah.
That's all.
Check it out. Transfer Thursday. Emma Sanders. She's going to talk about it all.
Yeah.
Maybe even a manager too. So check it out Thursday.
Definitely, yes. The Thursday show it'll be on the main account, the All For United account, which we've been on since September. So it won't be this account. It will be on the main account. Emma Sanders. She's been on twice before. We get massive views when she's on. Rightly so. 2 of our biggest ever shows is when she's on. We've got Simon backstage, so I'm going to bring Simon in a second. But yeah, please tune into that one as well. We will go through Emma's article on this show as well, but just discussing the Man United pieces. But we'll discuss the whole article on the Thursday show. Let's bring Simon in. Hello, Simon.
Hello.
Hi, Simon.
Hello. Hiya. How's everyone doing?
Yeah, good. Thank you. You okay?
Thanks for having me. Doing well, yeah. Around 2:30 here in Jamaica, but all is well. A bit tired. We've been up quite early because the men's national team was in action this morning, so it's been a long day. Really, really long day.
How did they get on, mate?
That's good.
Yeah, we drew 1-1 against Serbia, so they're ranked 25th in the world. And Jamaica's 45th. So it's a decent result. Ravel Morrison came on last 20 minutes, showed his magic. So that really got the fans excited. So in the end, I mean, we're hoping for the win because we took the lead early on, but a bit of lapse in concentration here. But it's still a decent result, and we move on towards the World Cup qualifiers in September.
Yeah, excellent. It's nice and warm where you are as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So the match was over in Japan, but in Jamaica it's starting to get really hot right now, and the sun and everything. So really approaching that time. So we're managing quite well.
Thanks to everybody in the comments who's showing Simon some love. If you never saw Simon on the last show, Simon was with us back in January where we discussed a transfer roundup of the winter window. And that was a great show. So if you haven't seen that, just scroll back on the main account and re-watch that. That was a great show. So we're going to discuss a few things that you've retweeted and spoken about on your Twitter. But before we do, I'm just going to mention a few things that's been spoken about today on Twitter from Emma Sanders, BBC journalist. So we're just going to start talking a little bit about what could potentially happen on the start of the 11th of June. So she's mentioned LJ to Chelsea. There's no news. No new news here. It's something that we've been expecting now for some of us longer than 2 months, but I think it's been out in the open for 2 months. But what she did say that was interesting is Beth England a loan deal. So, what are your thoughts on that one then, Nat? Because we thought about
I know we're going to talk about LJ and as well, not just a club team or a country, but for me, LJ. It's something I put out on Twitter before. I think it's a bad move. I'm not saying that she can never play for Chelsea or she can never go and do that. But I just think now it's a bad move. She's 19 years old. I think we saw it with Cristiano Ronaldo. He wanted to leave, but Fergie said, stay with us a couple more years, get that development into your legs. And the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm worried for her. I'm LJ's biggest fan. I'm not coming on here to criticise her or say she shouldn't move, but I am worried that she's not going to get her game time, and I think she needs. I would give it if I was 2 more years, and then go. Be 21, then you're in your prime, then you're firing, and then you can go on to wherever club you want. But now, I am slightly worried. I've heard little things that she might get loaned out. I don't know, but then if Beth England's getting loaned out, obviously she won't. And I'm seeing other people saying they agree. I'm a bit concerned at that. I've heard Beth England, going for loan, don't know where. But it's something that I've said we should do a swap deal for me. I think the cards are in our hand with Lauren. She's under contract. Beth England is a striker that we know about and we've wanted before. So for me, it makes sense. We need a 9. Go get her.
Simon, we'll speak a bit more about LJ in detail in the second half of the show, but what do you think about this specific news about her going to Chelsea? Was you kind of shocked at that one? It's big news, isn't it? Definitely.
Yeah, to be quite frank with you, I am a bit shocked. I can understand why the media and especially PR entities would try to make this happen, especially because of her sibling doing quite well there. But she's in an environment where she's quite comfortable, she's nurturing. And I know we use the term quite often, a generational talent, but it speaks for the volumes in terms of what she has been producing. Ever since she left Arsenal, you could really see that year after year, there has been improvements, whether it's by the numbers or the actual technical ability of her as a player. So it has come as a surprise for me. Is it that United are trying to hold back in terms of wages with her? I'm not sure the inner details of that. But what I can say for her is that I wouldn't suggest a move for her at this stage. Another 2 years, as Nat was saying, she could go to Barcelona, she could go to Lyon, she could go to PSG. I still think at this stage, between 18 and 21, that's where you need minutes. It really shouldn't be about the fame or anything like that. It should be getting minimum 60 games under your belt in the women's game, I would say, between those critical ages.
That's a good point. You got to get them. You got to get them minutes in, because the way I'm looking at it is, yes, she might get loaned out, but she's still not going to be playing at the highest level. So when she does eventually come back to Chelsea, yeah, it might work absolutely, and it possibly will, but it's still more risky, isn't it? Simon, what about the amount of strikers that Chelsea have got at the moment? I mean, can you see her getting any game time?
To be quite frank, in terms of the options, minutes, yes, it's possible, but the quantity of it, that's what I'm concerned about. How often will she be able, especially with the competition for places as well? I don't think it's going to be the same like she's getting at United. So that's my massive concern. And she's 19. She's not at the peak of her career just yet, 25, 26, where you can say, yes, she's going to be challenging for places seriously. She's still at that nurturing phase where she's still going to allow her to make those mistakes, allow her to learn her craft. And United was giving her that solid platform to do so. So I'm hoping in the next couple of days that there could be a U-turn, a change of hearts, because she needs to be in an environment where she is loved. And that's exactly where she is. Is there a sort of, is she homesick? I'm not sure, but normally you find that players that come from the south and they go to clubs up the north, they say, oh, they can't do this in the north, I can't do that in the north. Could that be it? But sometimes when you're a bit tenacious, that could really bring the best out of you as a player, and it could propel her into another level.
Part of me thinks that Chelsea's seen an opportunity here and they want to get in early whilst it's cheap, thinking of the future. Best thing they won't be there forever. Are they just getting in there now while they can? Still have her on the books, still loan her out, because I'm not saying that they don't care about her, but they're probably caring more about their own future at the moment. Getting her cheap, it's still going to be a good amount of money, but couple of years' time, if she starts to be our number one forward, she's going to be worth double, isn't she? So I can see a good business move from Chelsea. I think that's probably more what it could be. And obviously, if they know that they can prize her away because she wants to come down to London, and with her brother being there as well, it's just too much of a good opportunity for Chelsea to miss. But on the flip side to that, it's still not been announced. It's been rumoured for a long time. It's been out in the public for a couple of months. Still not been announced. Don't know why. Has it all been signed and sealed and delivered and just not been announced? We don't know. But it's definitely an interesting one. But yeah, big loss for us, but there are other players as well that we can bring in. John Fry says something probably that you would agree with, that 300k plus a player probably. Is that the kind of level that you're thinking of there, Nat?
Well, I said 500,000, and I know that's a bit over the top, but I think she's got a contract, and yeah, they could then buy it out then, and I don't know how much she's on, but probably might come to something like 300k. So I don't know if I had to take what John's saying here, loan back to us. Just wouldn't feel the same. That it just would just be like helping Chelsea. I wouldn't do that. And if it is, I think it is homesick, like what Simon said. When I first heard about it, it was all about, I want to be with Reece, I want to be with my family down in London. She looks happy when she's there. I'm not saying she's not happy in Manchester, but I think COVID has exacerbated a lot of issues for everyone. So obviously she's young, she's away from her family, she can't be with her family. And I think potentially she'll go back living with her mum and dad and a little sister and all that kind of thing, and she'll enjoy it. I know when she was with us, she was with like a host family for a bit, and then she's moved into her own. And I think at that age, 18, 19, you probably just want to be with your mum if you're upset, if you have a bad day. So yeah, I do see it, but at the same time, I am worried about her game time. It's keep time for her now. I think she's got to a point where she's improved so much and I think she's just there. She just needs that little bit more. But if it stops, then it could stunt the whole thing, and that's the only thing I'm worried about now.
Yeah, so that's kind of like old news in a way. There's something today that we haven't heard of. That's come out of this article, and we'll mention that because we're linked to two players, Mannion and Bagley. Now, I know Matt Crane has been on about Bagley for a little while. So let's start off with that one. We've gone from like 5 keepers 2 seasons ago down to 3 keepers now. Look, there's rumours about Rambo leaving. I thought it was going to be Bentley a few weeks ago. I heard Bentley's name going round. It now looks like it could be Rambo's name. Maybe it's even both of them. I don't know. So it looks like Rambo could potentially be on the way out, which means that Bagley would be a good number 2 for possibly an improvement. But what are your thoughts on that one, Nat? Because that's kind of come out the blue a little bit.
With Rambo, she's now got into the Lionesses team. She's not number 1 choice. She needs to play. I always said that the one person who I was most upset over during COVID when we all went in this lockdown was Emily Ramsey, because she hadn't really played in the first season. Actually got to go out on loan in January to Sheffield, and that would have given her loads of game time. And I think especially for a young keeper, having game time regularly, like we said about LJ, between those core ages, you need to be playing. And at Man United, she's not. And, you can't just send out your number 2, your biggest wages kind of thing. So I think Sophie Bagley's at a point where she's sort of probably not going to get in the England team, because we've seen like Hannah Hampton, Emily Ramsey, Sandy McIver and Ellie Roebuck. They're sort of the 4 key players. So Sophie Bagley is not in that list. And they've just been sent down Bristol. So I think it does make sense for her to come through, challenge Earps a lot more. She's got experience in the WSL, whereas Rambo didn't. I am gutted for Rambo. I really am. She was one of the ones I was watching in the under-19 Euros. Her, Amy Palmer, Lauren James, Ebony Salmon. Watching that little core. Even Naomi Hartley was in it. So I am gutted, because she's die-hard Man United fan. A whole family Man United fans. She came back to the club she loves. So I'm gutted for if it is Rambo going. I can see Rambo and Bentley potentially going. Bentley's out of contract, so I can see her going too. But for me, I prefer Hampton as well over Rambo. But I think Hampton's at that age where she'd want to be number 1. She'd want to go into her first team. We're at that point with Earps where I think she's good for where we're at. But then when we get into a certain stage, is she good for that stage? And I suppose we're still at this stage now. So, yeah, I think another keeper who actually sort of has that experience, who will potentially replace her, who can play WSL, who has experience of it, it will be good for her. So I can see why for all sides. And if it happens, yeah, okay, let's do it. I'm happy for it.
So it's so hard, isn't it, for reserve goalkeepers or young goalkeepers to get match time, especially when your cup matches are against Man City, or in the second season, it was against, we had a tough Conti Cup draw, a tough FA Cup draw, got knocked out of both cups in the early stages. The season just finished. It is hard for goalkeepers to come through, isn't it, Simon?
It really is, especially in the English game, especially the matchups that you made mention of in the cup competition, and especially with COVID and everything like that. The opportunities abroad have been quite limited. But let's see what perhaps the next year and a half could bring. Opportunities are opening up in North America, not only in the States, but north of the border as well. So we'll see if this could be an opportunity for these players to be able to express themselves in another environment, another physically imposing league, and could be an avenue for them to garner 15, 20 appearances and come back to England and challenge pre-season for the club. And from a United perspective, they would have to ask themselves, what is really the target for next season? Is it Champions League? Is it going for the title? So it really comes down to what the club needs at this point in time. Another centre forward, perhaps another centre half. Will that be enough? So it really is about what is the next step from here. We're in the top flight now. What is next?
Well, that's what I want to ask you, because everyone who comes on has got their own expectations for next season. And I think this is the first time being a United Women's supporter where I've seen a lot of expectations being lowered. And I think it's all started since when Casey left, if I'm honest. I think it kind of shook a lot of people, made us think that we're currently unstable. So before we talk about any more transfers, Simon, as a United fan as well, what are your kind of expectations going into next season now?
As a United fan, we certainly want the best, regardless of whether it's the academy, the men's or the women's. We want the absolute best, and I would be extremely delighted to see the ladies go on and win the title. That's the ultimate dream that we wanted to see them do, especially after what happened a couple of years ago, where the teams was basically dissolved. But I think a realistic expectation of the team, especially if LJ is around for another season, I think Champions League is realistic. A top 2 finish is certainly something within our grasp. We've shown that we can defend quite well. My only concern is in the final third, the decision making that we're making. Can we be able to not only get the ball in the right areas, but ensure that we're converting much better? If we can do that, then there's a genuine opportunity that European football could be on our hands.
What news are you getting? What news are you getting in Jamaica regarding Preston Heath? Looks like they're leaving now, and the amount of players who are potentially leaving this summer. It's like a huge amount of names that's being thrown around. Are you kind of getting that gist over where you are as well?
It's similar, yes. A lot of American content and a bit of British, especially on the BBC and Sky perspective. It's come across as shock, especially in this part of the world, because these are match winners, these are World Cup winners, these are experienced veterans of the game. And I think that the pandemic certainly has had its toll on proceedings. So it is the same sort of shock of this part of the world, and a lot of expectation is on United to repeat, and in terms of replace these individuals with quality additions. Perhaps some of the Dutch players, the German players that have done so quite well in the World Cup a couple of years ago. So there is that expectation, but the question is, will the backing be there for the manager, and will the players receive the support that they need? Because there's clearly progress, but what is progress without not being consistent? You don't want to finish mid-table next season. We don't want to do that. That's stagnation. So we have to think about the next step from here.
Yeah, absolutely. Nat, do you want to just jump on this one here from Craig?
Yeah. I saw that point, and it's something that I want to come back to. And because for me, I think you're not no one's guaranteed anything. So if a keeper doesn't like that they're not first choice, well, you have to work harder then. And for me, there has been a point where I would have said, yeah, swap her out, put someone else in. And I think if Bagley does come in, she would add that competition. So I think it is for the best. But if there's rumours that Mary or whoever keeper doesn't like being first choice, tough. Tough. This is not, we're not here to make friends, we're here to win. And if you're not doing it and someone else can step into your place and do better, then I've got no problem with it. And like you say, this will add competition to her. And if she doesn't like it, then go tough, deal with it, suck it up. I think we've seen with De Gea and Henderson and stuff. It doesn't matter who you are. If someone's better behind you, they'll play instead of you, whether you like it or not. And I think, I don't understand how sort of people can sort of say, "Oh, I should." No one deserves anything, and you got to fight for your place always, 100% every single game.
Yeah, that's life. That's life, isn't
it? Definitely.
One other name that's come out today. First I've heard of it is centre back. So Mannion. We've got the name in the comments to see what people are saying. This is a bit of a new one to me. I don't really know her level because I've never seen her play. I know she's been injured for a while. We do need centre backs. Personally, from what I'm hearing about Kennedy, I'm leaning more towards her. So I'm listening to people who have seen her, and Ben Gilby was on the show, who knows everything about Australian players. He was rating her highly. So I'm leaning more towards Kennedy. But having said that, we need four different centre backs. We don't know if Amy's sticking around. Maria obviously still finding her feet. Obviously we all love Millie Turner, but if she's not in form, she needs someone pressing her. Abby McManus will probably be leaving this summer, so we do need centre backs, don't we? So Nat, your thoughts on that specific player?
Yeah, I think we need a centre back. I've had a lot of mixed reaction to this. She's a good player, and it's a player that, for me, I think should have come straight into United instead of going to Man City. I think she was at that age. Yes, she was at that 21 age, but I think she should have, if she had been playing regularly at Man United, she probably would have been the first choice centre-back for England now. And just the way that Casey sort of handles the business, and we do know Emma sort of said that Casey has done a lot of these deals still. The way that I know Casey handles the business, it's sort of a case of, well, you said no to me once, that's it, thanks a lot. So the fact that she's going back, it sort of surprised me. The concern is obviously we've had a lot of injuries, and then she's had a lot of injuries. So I know it's sort of like the people are saying this is her first ever injury, but it's an ACL, it's a big injury. She then had another knee injury or something towards the end of the season when she was supposed to be coming back. It's just whether she can be fit, that's what I would say. And to be honest, I'd say if you're going to sign her, sign her on a 1 year, because I'm not trying to, that sounds really harsh, but she's had a lot of injuries. I think she's had a 3-year deal with City, and she's probably played a handful of games and that's due to having these injuries. And so it's one of them. Whereas if we're going to get a centre back, and especially if Amy T leaves, if we're going to get someone in, we need someone who's going to play week in, week out. For me, and I don't know if Mannion can do that. That's the only new worry.
Well, if I'm meeting Craig, I take Craig's opinions seriously. So I do value Craig. I do listen to his podcast with Rodney as well. So I'm guessing you're saying that she's outside, meaning that she's better than some of the players that we've got. If that is the case, then that's good news. I'll just take your word for it. I don't know how much you watch Amy Turner and Mina Turner, but we think highly of our players. I know at the end of last season, it didn't go quite well for our defenders, but at the start of the season, they were doing really well. So it'll be interesting to see if that actually goes ahead. There is a question for yourself there, Simon, regarding Jamaica. Let me try and get it up there. Here we go. Are there any future stars in Jamaica? Do you want to kind of touch on that one?
Yeah, thanks for the question there, Jockey551. So because of the pandemic, the National Women's Football League on the island is still halted. I know it's been 15 months, but the government hasn't given clearance just yet on the return of the women's game. It is really sad, especially for the island-based players. But what I will say in terms of national players that have been doing quite well is that there is a young lady that has the potential to be a better finisher than Bunny, and a young lady that you both should keep a very, very close eye on moving forward. Her name is Jody Brown. She's 19 years of age. She's currently playing at the Florida International University in America, and she's a centre forward that United needs, simply put. And she had the option to go professional or to go through college, but the reason why she chose to go the college route is because she's only 5'4" and she wants to learn the physical side of the game, and the college system in the States would really build her up because she's coming up against centre halves 5'9", 5'10", even 6 foot. So I think she chose a wise decision there. She's still a teenager as well in going that route of going to college for a couple of years and then going professional. So I would say if there's one young lady that United has to keep a close eye on, it's Jody Brown, the youngest player to ever play in a Women's World Cup, which when she was 17 2 years ago. Jody Brown, she's the young lady to look out for, trust me.
What I'm liking about Jamaica at the moment today is I think I've heard and read this correctly. We've recently signed a scout from Jamaica, I think it's from Crystal Palace, but it's Jamaican. So if any clubs in obviously England want to know about Jamaica, then surely we've got someone now who's got links back to Jamaica. Simon, I see you're smiling, so obviously I'm getting this right. What are your thoughts on that one?
I think it's absolutely brilliant. Jamal Jarrett signing for United as the head scout, especially for the south of England, for both the men's and women's side. I think it's outstanding because we haven't had a Jamaican at the club in any capacity since David Johnson, who was in the youth team back in the 90s thereabouts and featured under Sir Alex for quite some time. So it's outstanding from that perspective to see the opportunities being given at United and really looking out for talent, not only on the field but off the field as well. It shows that they care about the support staff. And when Fergie came in the 80s, he tripled the scouting network, and we saw the dividends that came to follow in years gone by. So long may that continue where that is concerned. And we know as well about the Jamaican diaspora in the UK as well, especially in the Manchester region. So it's no surprise that the likes of Ethan Laird and Damani Mella, etc., Dishan Bernard have Jamaican heritage. So they're around in the area, in the Manchester area. So who knows, as we touch about the international football later in the show, we could have a couple representing Jamaica in the future. But as it relates to the scout, Jamal Jarrett, brilliant for him. Absolutely wonderful opportunity that he's getting. And he thoroughly deserves it because he was pivotal, especially with Brentford when they're lingering in League Two And now they're a Premier League club because he introduced the data analytics and statistics and sports science to the program, and they were knocking on the door in the Championship. So he's really made a massive impact everywhere he's been, played an impact in Aaron Wan-Bissaka's development as well, in terms of from a right winger going back to right back. So he's had imprints everywhere he's gone.
Go on, that's
fantastic.
Yeah. What's
Yeah,
your thoughts?
just the only thing I really picked up on there, Simon, you said men and women, and that'll be really interesting if he does. You know, like you said, Jody Brown, that's a player, and if like he can sort of tap into that, getting someone like Jody or getting someone. I'm not saying he can get Bunny, but you know, just someone along those lines. It would be great. You know, especially if he's scouting for the women or he knows of any good academy youths coming through at different clubs, that would be really great, because it's something that we want to see. We need to see more of scouting for women's teams. So if he can add anything that will benefit the women in that aspect, then it'd be brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did an interview with him on my channel, Reggae Boys Commentary on YouTube, and I spoke to him about in terms of looking at talent on the island. Although his main job description will be on the south of England, he did say that he's going to be coming to the island at the end of the year, around about November, December, thereabouts, to look at the talent in terms of the men's and women's perspective. So that would be his first real look into the women's talent. And I think from there, he'll be making the necessary recommendations to the women's program in terms of the senior team and the gaffer.
So he's likely to be scouting south of England for women as well.
That is correct, yes. So the job description is even though his main priority will be with the men's, going from the under-12s to the under-18s with the girls will also be part of the agenda.
That's good. That's good to know. Yeah. Guys, 27 people watching, so please hit the thumbs up. I love these shows when you get journalists on and people who know something a bit different. It's always great to have fans on, but when you get somebody else on who knows a little bit more about things that you don't know, then it's always great to have. So let's talk a little bit about LJ, Bunny, and Oshoala. So let's start off with Bunny. So last time we were on the show, we was in a better position. We was top of the league, or at least we was looking good for Europe. We was talking about Bunny potentially wanting to come to England. We was one of the front runners because it was in Champions League. I think he said she might prefer to go up to Manchester as opposed to go down to London. So we was looking good at that time. Obviously, since then, new manager, out of the Champions League, everything seems to be up in the air at the moment. What are your thoughts on Bunny's future, and is there any possibility of her coming to England or Manchester or the red side of Manchester?
Yeah, I understand what you mean. It's amazing how things can change, how things can turn in just a matter of weeks and so on and so forth. But in terms of the advice that Bunny has been getting from her agent, then whatever move that she makes, her next step is the move that is going to propel her career to the next level. Champions League, plus putting her in the Ballon d'Or sort of nominees for the future, 24. So the next move she makes has to put her in the conversation of being among the creme de la creme of women's football. So the last time that we spoke in January thereabouts, United were the front runners, Chelsea a little bit further back. City came into the race perhaps around 4 weeks ago thereabouts. And that, as we know, has been a result of how they've been doing in the league and so forth. But if you were to ask me in terms of how, from a United perspective, being completely frank and honest with you, I would say it's a 3 out of 10 for Bunny to come to United, and more of like a 6 out of 10 for City. It's still quite head scratching at this point in time why a deal hasn't been sorted as yet. Her main focus has been on that golden boot at Bordeaux. Now that the season is finished, she's won the golden boot. Now we can perhaps see a decision being made in the next couple of weeks or so. She even didn't turn up to international duty as well. So it's clear that the club football is certainly going to be on our radar for the next couple of weeks or so, and she has a massive decision to make. But City are throwing around the most dosh, followed by Chelsea, and United are third in that race. So as it stands, United third in that race. Can United do anything about it? If there's something that United can do, it's have a conversation with her face to face. I think that's the only thing that they can do in terms of trying to persuade her. Anything short of that, I think it's going to be really, really challenging. But as it stands, it's City that are the front runners right now.
You see, if Casey was still here, I would have felt a bit comfortable with Bunny coming over and speaking face to face, because a lot of players did come over for Casey. Whereas at the moment we don't know who the manager is going to be. But Nat, did you want to jump in on that one?
Yeah, I've heard as well. I don't know if it was Washington, Simon. I can't remember which team, but I know we talked about it privately. Where is that up to? Say.
Yeah, that's over in America, and the reason why they're in the race is because they've offered to make Bunny the highest paid player in America, so that's why they're in the race as well, and they do stand a chance. But Bunny playing in Europe has been her pride and joy the last couple of years. Personally, I'd be surprised if she goes over to America. I would be surprised, because she does want to challenge herself against the best of Europe. So I do expect her to stay in Europe, where that is concerned. But yes, in America, they're giving more opportunities, and they're looking out for their diaspora as well, because there is Caribbean heritage within America all across the country. So they're trying to capitalize on areas, and Washington, of course, an area with loads of Jamaicans. So they're trying to cash in on that as well, as fans are mad in America as well, and they're letting them back into the stadiums. So they just can't wait to see Bunny in action and everything like that. But I fully expect Bunny to stay in Europe, and there's no contract talks for Bordeaux. The 2-year deal is basically expired. So I think at some point, whether later this month or early July, a decision should be made.
I've seen a little video where it looks like that they're basically saying, Bordeaux is basically saying thank you and goodbye to Bunny. So is it like you say, it looks like a time there has gone? Just one last one for me on Bunny. Can you see her going to any other European clubs, or do you think, I'm just trying to think, if all of a sudden we become front runners in England, I'm not saying that we would, but if that was the case, do you think we've got much of the competition in Europe, or do you think it is mainly just City and Chelsea that's going to be our main competition?
Outside of the interest that is in England and the one club so far in America, Bunny is not interested about the talk about a few offers in Spain. The only other offer that would interest her is staying in France and going to PSG. But where they are right now in terms of their financial situation is that they wouldn't be able to afford her wages unless they release 2 players. And I don't think they're willing to do that right now. So as it stands, England, France, or America, really, I think we can pen on those 3 countries for sure.
Yeah. Nat, moving on to another one of your favourite players, LJ. We touched on him earlier. Obviously, I actually was alerted to this by Simon's tweet. Do you want to talk about this one, Nat?
Yeah, Craig sort of put it there. It's interesting what Jamaica are doing, bringing talented players who are eligible but not had the chance. And for me, I think LJ, I know people would say, oh, well, no, she should wait and this and that. But for me, I think she is ready. I think she's been overlooked by England. Whether people like to say or not, I mean, how can she be overlooked? She's young, this and that. What we said about being 21, I do agree. I do see that. But for me, I think England are in such dire straits in a way where they're losing a load of games. Who knows what's going to happen in the Olympics? For me, I think the time was to put LJ in just before COVID. That's when I would have put her in. She was doing really well. She was top goal scorer, and then I think Chloe Kelly got ahead of her. I know Chloe Kelly probably scored a lot more back then, but for me, I think we've sort of talked about it. Generational talent. She is a generational talent. Everyone comes on here and talks about generational talent, and the fact that she's sort of probably is feeling a bit miffed by it. I talk about that 2019 Euros, and a lot of her fellow teammates have had call-ups, but she's not. So how can an under-19 squad have people like Lottie? No, Lottie wasn't in it, but I think Hannah Hampton was in it. Ebony was in it. Ebony's played, and then Lauren, the best player on that, isn't getting a call-up, isn't getting a chance, not even getting in the squads or this and that. No one's saying, oh, she should go and play full 90 minutes or anything, but the fact that she's not even getting called into squads and stuff. And I mean, I've done a podcast recently about black players and the way that they're treated, and I think racism happens across the whole of the world, so you can't sort of say, oh, it doesn't happen in football and we shouldn't talk about that. But I know people are saying, oh, this other manager and all this, wait for Serena to arrive. Listen, she's been waiting how long? And obviously, you know, Simon knows better than me as to where her head's at with it, as to what sort of spurred it on. I know I've been on Simon's channel and talked about it, and then an article came out in the Daily Mail about it, and then now we're hearing that they've had talks about it. So I just want to hear Simon's point, really. What is it? Why is LJ sort of now pushing for Jamaica? I see why, and I'm so proud she does it. I'll be like there. I'll be like, book me damn flights, because for me, I think we know with England and the Lionesses, there's major issues. So, and that's with being a black person in that team. You know, we saw with the ex-coach and all that. So, what do you think it is, Simon? Why she's picking Jamaica now?
I'll be quite frank with you. Sometimes it's a bit ominous topic to talk about players born in England to Jamaican heritage, because the English FA follows me on Twitter, and their PR manager Andy Walker goes and runs to Gareth Southgate and see what I've tweeted, or to Phil Neville and see which player, and then instantly calls them up the next week when Mason Greenwood gets called up against Iceland, just so that he could cap tie them so they don't play for Jamaica. So a bit of tug of war between England and Jamaica. But to answer your question, really, it's frustration about not getting an England call up when she really, really does deserve it. As it relates to the tweet that John was talking about, it's the head coach of the Jamaica women's team, Hubert Busby, having dialogue with the agent, or you could say the father of LJ, and speaking about the ambitions that he would have for her in the program, and more or less looking towards 2023, the next Women's World Cup, and having ambitions of Jamaica getting to the quarterfinals of that tournament. And while LJ would be on board with such a project, the father is basically saying, let's give her another 2 more years, and if England doesn't call up in that time frame, then we'll give Jamaica a listening ear. From the Jamaican perspective, it's difficult and it's a bit frustrating, because it's a conversation that we've heard from other players in the past. So it's like we're going to wait and wait and wait and wait, and a situation where LJ gets called up for England next year, and then that dream is all lost. So Jamaica was really hoping to call up for these upcoming games against America and Nigeria, happening over in Houston in Texas, but the father says at this point in time, we're going to give her the summer to relax. We're going to give her time to really recharge the batteries, in a sense. But if she comes on board to Jamaica, absolutely, Jamaica has the tremendous Bunny and LJ up front. Oh my days, goals, absolutely mad. So yeah, that's the reason why LJ would be linking towards it, really. And she would tell you as well, in terms of how she grew up in England. She grew up more so in a Jamaican culture in terms of the food and the music. So it would come quite naturally to her, and she would gel in quite well with the teammates around her. And LJ is not the other. There's other players that Chelsea and Liverpool that Jamaica have called upon and have accepted the call. So if LJ was to come into the mix, then it would make a fantastic 23 women's squad heading into the World Cup qualifiers later this year.
No, I just want to say, yeah, it's 100%. And I think that's the thing that I know it's sort of, we're talking about it, but that's the thing with that they've got an issue with, that I've been speaking to players and what other, I've read, that there is this kind of culture divide, and England isn't very, not welcoming, that would be the wrong word, but not, you're made to feel different and this kind of thing. And like you say, the food and the this and the way I eat my hair and the way I've got my fish and the way, all this kind of thing. And people look at you weird for it. And, I do think that they've got a major issue. I think not just in the WSL, but in the Lioness team. And it's something that I talk about, I tweet about a lot. So that's why I'm like you said, she would fit in. She'd feel happy. There's people there. Drew Spence, I know he's just been called up. Have you got Chloe Morgan as well?
Yeah, Jade Bailey as well.
Yeah, so she would know all those and she'd feel comfortable around them. So, I mean, I see where Nigel's coming from, see where Dad's coming from. Obviously, it's better if, she is, maybe does see, like what John says, see what Serena does. But I then worry that if she was playing at United, she'd get a call, or if she's not playing at all for Chelsea, is she going to be called up? Who knows? But then will they just call her for 1 or 2 games and tie her, and then someone else takes her place because she's not playing for Chelsea? Jamaica could be where she gets a lot of her game time, where she does still play, where she does still shine and show Chelsea, listen, this is why I should be playing. Whereas if she gets called up for England, someone else could surpass her. Leah could say I'm going to play, and then she plays. Russo is also likely to get a lot more game time, score a lot of goals for Man United. So she should get called up ahead of her. I think, Karen says they're lucky. They are lucky if she is. That's what they're going to do. But I think if she's not called up by January, I can see her definitely saying, "Bang, I'm going to Jamaica," and that's it.
Yeah, and John and Nat, it's what we faced on the men's side of things in terms of players choosing between England and Jamaica. Unfortunately, what they look at long term is what endorsements will I get if I play for England? I'll have Adidas, I'll have Nike. I go to Jamaica. What's really there for me in that aspect? Perhaps a patty company, some jerk chicken. What's going to look like on my resume? So sometimes I think, what's going to look better? Being an England international with 1 cap, or representing Jamaica with 50, 60 caps. Sometimes they're going to prefer playing for England, those 6 minutes, and that just lives with them for the rest of their career. They probably end up as a pundit one day, and it sticks with them. It's unfortunate how the situation is in terms of how things have worked in England with players and everything like that. We're really having a challenge right now with Emile Smith-Rowe, who's at Arsenal, who has Jamaican heritage as well, Isaac Hayden at Newcastle. They would rather wait and play for England once in their entire life than to come and play 10, 20 games and perhaps even a World Cup. So some players, it's their personal decision, and I accept that, but I personally just don't agree with that thinking.
No, it's almost like LJ is too good for her age, isn't it, at the moment? Because she should be playing European football. She should be playing at the highest level in the WSL. She should be playing international football already. She can't get this. Well, she could have gone to Man United, but it was the fact that she was injured last season. If she goes to Chelsea, she's not going to be playing because of whatever reason. She's not being called up for England. It's almost like she could potentially be getting frustrated this season, and maybe she is saying behind the scenes, "Look, everyone's saying how good I am. I believe in myself. Her dad will believe in her. Maybe she's starting to think to herself now. I've got a decision to make. Probably a couple of years younger than she was expected to make this decision." But she needs to strike while the iron's hot, and like you guys just said, she doesn't want to get tied down, because if she does get called up a couple of times, then that's it. It's too late, isn't it? So, she has. I was thinking to myself, why is this come out now? Why is it being spoken about now? But it probably needs to be talking about now, doesn't it?
It really.
I mean, go on, Simon.
I was just going to say. In terms of the region in CONCACAF, obviously the Americans are World Cup champions, Canada top 10 ranked team, Mexico top 20. So the competitive level will be there. Jamaica within the top 30, 40 thereabouts. So there are quality teams, and should be playing in the best confederation in international football. So it will be the best in terms, instead of playing against San Marino and Lithuania every week.
100%. And for me, I think, like you said, she's coming and making these decisions, and I think COVID is probably exacerbated. Like I said, I think it for everyone. It's made everyone think, what are my plans? I think she probably was happy to see out a contract with United, and then she thought, no, I want to live down south. She probably was happy to wait for England. If she had been fit, she might have been called up already. And like you said, I think a lot of frustration has come from this season, lockdown, not being fit. Not playing as many games, still had an influence on games, still potentially could have been called up. She got sort of called into a camp and all this kind of stuff. And I just think, for me, it's highlighting, and it's really, if she does choose Jamaica, which I think will come sooner, the decision if they don't call her up. If she does choose Jamaica, for me, I think it'll be a real coup for them. It'd be great. It'd be amazing, like you say, Bunny and LJ. But it'd be a real, for me, I'm talking as a black person, living in England, born here. It'd be real stain. I think it just wouldn't feel right. It would feel really horrible. And I just think, like you said, she's frustrated because she should have been called up. And I don't want to sort of say, but if she was white and blonde hair, would she have been called up? And that might be going through her mind. And, with all that's what's going on and everything, I won't be surprised if it's going through her mind, what you read and what you say. I mean, we know with Drew Spence, I think it's Drew Spence who's now called, but she didn't get called up because of what happened with the racist coach in England. So, for me, it's something I've thought about before. I even look at, I know this is going into a different topic, but even look at someone like Ebony Salmon, who's had to leave England, these shores completely, to go and play in race in Louisville. And it's going to be great, because I think it's going to highlight her maybe even to Jamaica, and she definitely got some heritage somewhere. So good, it's going to highlight her to someone, and they've not played her in England. She's having to leave England to get game time, and for me, I think that's a shame. That's a massive shame. But there needs to be some things going on. I mean, we've heard with the booing of the knee and all that kind of stuff, but it's I think it's deeper. I think it's internal in the England women or WSL. There's something majorly wrong for me if LJ definitely goes and chooses Jamaica.
Yeah, well said.
We've got 5 minutes left, so I just want to talk a little bit about the rumours about Oshoala coming to United, or at least leaving Barcelona. Simon, just what are your thoughts on that one, and any other potential signing that United may make, or that you would like to see happen over the summer?
As we know, it is a long summer, and things can really change quite quickly. But in terms of requirements that I would love to see, it's another centre forward and another centre half. I think the midfield is decent. Of course, I am a preacher and a believer of depth, not only in terms of quality, but also quantity as well, because as we know in this game, anything can happen when you're playing week in, week out. There can be injuries, there can be suspensions. Players can just have personal reasons, especially in the times that we're living in right now. So I'm a firm believer in having the quality in numbers as well. So in terms of my actual priorities, I would go for the spine of the team, a centre half, a central midfielder, and a centre forward. I think if you get those three, the spine of the team, then Champions League football can be realistic for qualification.
Sounds about right. I mean, that's pretty much what we're saying as well on that, but we are thinking quite a few players coming in as well. So I think maybe I agree that probably are our priorities, especially centre-back and centre-forward. We've heard like Bo Reese's looking possible. It's not always done. So that's obviously the midfield option. But yeah, I just feel that we got so much still to do. Obviously, it might have already been done that we don't know about, but I think there's a lot to be done.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said with Manny, and if we keep all our defenders, so if it's not, say, a replacement for Amy T, and it's sort of Amy T, both Turners, Manny, and then we've got Maria, that's sort of adding depth and adding quality to the defence. In terms of Oshoala, I can't even say her name, but if that's it for me, let's go for it. Nigerian, I know not our Caribbean roots, but still, sister, feels good. I'll be happy to see her. She's just won the treble with Barcelona, so for me, she's upset about her game time as well, and she's a massive Man United fan. So, yes, we're not in Champions League, but it'll be sort of a case for me. I know you talked about expectations at the start. For me, it is United finishing third minimum now. I think we've had our 2 seasons fourth. It's third minimum into that Champions League. For me, I think third minimum and pushing for the title. And I think, like we said, Bo Risa, Manny, I suppose, and even adding that, like you said, depth to push players that are there. So if Mary is the number one, you add Bagley to push her and make her sort of feel like her place isn't safe. So, I'm seeing people here listing things off. I'd definitely get a few wingers in. I think if Tobin goes, she was massive for us, so we need to have that. And as far as Bo Risa, I'm concerned, she's a Norway international, still coming, so that's a midfielder, central midfielder, so it's adding that depth again, like Simon said. I'll be happy to see that.
One last question, Simon. We're still waiting for a new manager. Any thoughts on any rumours going around your end, or who would you like to see? Anyone jump out at you?
At this point in time, to be quite frank with you, no one really stands out, but my only hope as it relates to whoever takes charge in the hot seat is someone that has the firm interest in the club and not themselves or their resume. People think it's Manchester United and you're coming here to just create a name for yourself, but I hope that the interest of the club is at heart and you're not a yes woman or a yes man coming in to really try to protect your reputation. It's a massive, massive job, yes. You're going to be under the microscope of everyone across the globe because it is Manchester United, but my firm hope and belief is that all players are on board with the manager, whoever that may be that comes in, and be able to secure that top 3 finish next season.
Simon, thank you very much for coming on. It always seems to fly by when we do these podcasts. You think to yourself, got to talk for a whole hour, but we always seem to get so much content out there, and we always seem to run out of time. Simon, we'd love to get you back on before the season starts to kind of go through what transfers have happened. Obviously, stay in touch with ourselves regarding any rumours that you hear or anything that you want us to retweet that you've seen or heard your end. Obviously, we'll continue to do that. It's great to have you back on. Is there anything that you want to kind of promote your end, any Twitter or any writing or anything that you want to discuss?
So for those viewers firstly, thanks for having me on, John and Nat. I really, really appreciate it. Honestly, it's a pleasure. So before the start of next season, yes, feel free to reach out to me. Yeah, so I'm on Twitter, SimeyP93, SIMEY, the letter P and the numbers 9 and 3. So if you'd like to reach out to me, any questions about Jamaican players, you can definitely get in touch with me, whether from the men's side or women's side of things, which English-born players Jamaica is looking out for, especially in the Manchester sort of area, because it's quite a dense sort of population. I'll definitely give you those sorts of information and how it's going from the Jamaican FA perspective and the England perspective. And come on, United, let's get some trophies under our belt.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. We're going to call it a day, just a plan for the rest of the week. So it's Monday today. Tuesday, we've got Matt Crane's show. We hope that you enjoyed the surprise show yesterday as well. We all went up to Manchester and had a bit of a beer and a burger, whatever we all had to eat, and just had a bit of a half an hour live show talking about our 3 years of growth. So I hope you enjoyed that one. Thursday, we're back with Emma Sanders. That's looking very likely, so that's going to be absolutely amazing. It always is. Friday, we're not going to have our fan forum this week because we've got Mia Eriksson on it instead. So we're not going to obviously say no to that quality. Go on, Natalie.
I just want to say about Mia, she's a Swedish journalist / photographer, so she's going to talk about sort of people that mentioned there, Borussia, so she knows all about sort of Norway, Sweden, Denmark, that kind of area. So we're definitely going to dive into any quality players around there that are maybe available, the way their league is, who should we be looking at, sort of fire those questions at her. So listen, if anyone's got any questions about that, like I said, I know people want to know about Borussia, definitely hit up Mia's Friday show, and she was on Craig's podcast, and send us any comments. If you can't watch live, then we'll put them to her.
Absolutely, yeah. And then we'll finish the week with the Better Match show as well. So we're so fully loaded. So it's just a fan forum that's not going to happen this week because we got Mia on instead. So fantastic week to look forward to. Thank you to everybody that comments. Thank you, Simon. And Natalie, I'll see you on Thursday, mate. See you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.